It's projected to hit $3.25 billion in 2025.
Right.
That's a big number. Let's unpack this. What does that really tell us about where medicine and research are actually heading?
Well, that's exactly what we're looking at today. We've got this pretty comprehensive market report,
Right.
and it's not just the current size, It's the jump they're expecting. It could nearly triple by 2033.
Triple. Wow.
Yeah. So our goal here is to kind of cut through all the data points and find the really key trends, see what's driving things and, where it's all pointed.
Exactly. Let's do that. So diving right in, what's the overall scale right now, and just how fast is this thing growing?
Okay, so the report puts it at USD 300 to 256.28 million for 2025. Let's just call it 3.25 billion, roughly.
Okay, 3.25 billion.
But here's where the growth really kicks in.
Yeah.
Projections take it to USD 955.04 million by 2033.
9.7 billion.
Almost 10 billion, yeah. That worked out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 14.70% over those years, 2025 to 2033.
Nearly 15% CAGR. I mean, that's pretty significant year-over-year growth, isn't it? Especially for something healthcare related.
It really is. It signals some serious underlying demand and, innovation too.
So what's the main engine here? What's fueling that kind of expansion?
The report points pretty clearly to the rising demand for personalized medicine. That seems to be a major catalyst. I mean, if you think about it, the ability to precisely handle and copy DNA is becoming absolutely fundamental if you want to create treatments tailored to you specifically, your genetics.
Right. Moving away from the sort of one-size-fits-all approach. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. These services are becoming indispensable for that.
Okay, so it's a global market. How does this growth look geographically? Is it spread out evenly, or are some regions really taking off?
Oh, there's definitely a regional pattern. For 2025, North America is out front. Estimated market size, USD 104.82 million.
So about 1.2 billion.
Yeah. And it's projected to grow at a AGR of 13.1%. Within that, the U.S. is, it's the dominant force. About 950 million in 2025, growing at 12.9%.
Okay, so North America is the current leader in size. What about other big players like Europe?
Europe's also a very significant slice, estimated at USD 944.32 million in 2025, so not far behind North America.
Right.
And its growth rate is actually slightly higher, projected CAGR of 13.7%. Key countries there. The UK is around 158 million, growing at 14.5%. And Germany, bigger at about 187 million, growing at 13.9%.
So North America and Europe both showing really healthy growth. But you mentioned faster growth somewhere else. Where's the pace really picking up?
That would definitely be the Asia-Pacific region, APAC.
Okay.
Its market size in 2025 is smaller, estimated USD 781.51 million. But its projected CAGR is, it's remarkable, 17.6%. That's the highest globally.
Wow, 17.6%. That's huge. What does that signal beyond just more business?
Well, it suggests a really rapidly developing scientific infrastructure, and maybe even a shift in where the global biotech innovation hubs are located.
Interesting. Which countries in APAC are really driving that number?
China is a major player. Market size around 328 million, growing at 17.1%.
Still very high.
Yep. But India's growth rate is even faster, smaller market for now, about 78 million. But the CAGR is pegged at a whopping 19.5%.
Nearly 20% growth in India.
Yeah.
So North America leads now, but APAC, especially China and India, look like the ones to watch for future expansion.
That's definitely the picture the data paints.
What about the rest of the world? South America, Middle East, Africa?
Yeah, they're smaller markets with still growing quite fast.
Yeah.
South America, about 124 million in 2025, CAGR 15.4%. Brazil's the key market there, around 53 million, growing at 16%.
Yeah.
Middle East, roughly 130 million, CAGR 16.1%. Saudi Arabia is notable, about 46 million, growing at 15.9%.
All right. So the growth is pretty widespread, even if the starting points differ a lot.
Got it.
Let's switch gears a bit. The report breaks the market down by the type of service. What are the main product categories?
Right. It identifies three main ones: gene synthesis, custom cloning, and subcloning.
And which one's the biggest piece of the pie right now?
Currently, gene synthesis has the largest share. This is basically creating DNA sequences artificially from scratch almost.
Okay. Building DNA.
Pretty much. It's fundamental for a lot of research. Its dominance is probably down to efficiency, accuracy, and, you can customize it precisely. You don't need an existing template.
Makes sense for speeding up R&D. What about growth rates within these types? Is gene synthesis also the fastest growing?
Actually, no. The report points to custom cloning as the fastest growing segment.
Custom cloning.
Yeah.
What's that involve exactly?
That's more about taking a specific gene you're interested in and putting it into something like a plasmid, a vector, so you can make lots of copies of it or get it expressed.
Okay, replicating a specific piece. Why is that growing so fast?
It's likely tied back to personalized medicine again, and also advances in synthetic biology. Both fields need very specific, tailored genetic modifications and replications.
Interesting. So artificial creation is dominant now, but tailored replication is catching up fast. The report also segments by application, right? How are these services actually being used?
Yes. The leading application right now is DNA sequencing.
Okay, figuring out the code.
Exactly. Determining the precise order of the A's, T's, C's, and G's. It's absolutely critical for genetic analysis and, again, for developing those personalized medicine approaches we keep mentioning.
Fits together. Are there other major uses?
Yep. Mutagenesis is another key one, and it's apparently experiencing rapid growth.
Mutagenesis, making changes to the DNA.
Precisely. Creating specific intentional changes in DNA sequences. This is vital for understanding what genes actually do and also for developing new drugs and therapies.
Got it.
And the report also mentions genotyping as another application, basically figuring out an individual's specific genetic variations.
Okay. Now, who are the main customers for all this? The report talks about end users. Who's buying these services?
Well, a major group is academic and research institutes. Not really surprising, given their focus on fundamental genetic research, discovering new things, developing techniques.
Universities and research centers. Makes sense. What about the commercial side?
That's the other big piece, and it's a rapidly growing segment. Pharmaceutical and biotechnology companies.
No. The ones actually making the drugs.
Exactly.
Huh.
This is directly linked to the big push towards gene therapies, developing new biologic drugs, complex protein-based medicines, and just the general expansion of the whole biopharma industry.
Okay, so strong demand from both the discovery side in academia and the development side in industry. Let's dig into the drivers. What's really pushing this market forward, according to the report?
There are several key things. One is definitely innovation in the core technologies themselves. Things like CRISPR gene editing, which you hear a lot about.
Right, the gene scissors.
Kind of, yeah. And also improvements in PCR polymerase chain reaction, which lets you amplify tiny bits of DNA and DNA sequencing, getting faster and cheaper. All these enhance the efficiency and precision of cloning.
So the tools are just getting better and better. What else?
Well, as we've touched on a few times, that growing need for gene therapies and personalized medicine, that's a massive pull factor.
Right.
And also increased funding. Government and private investments pouring into genetic engineering projects. That provides the fuel for expansion.
So tech advancements, the demand for new kinds of medicine, and the money to back it up. Sounds like a strong combination. Are there any roadblocks, things holding it back?
Yeah, the report does mention restraints. One big one is cost.
Ah.
The sophisticated equipment you need, the specialized chemicals or reagents, and importantly, the highly skilled people required to actually do this complex work.
It all adds up. It can be expensive.
Yeah, I can imagine that limits access, especially for smaller players, maybe. Any other constraints? Regulation is another factor. Strict government policies and sometimes really lengthy approval processes for anything involving gene therapies or diagnostics. Navigating that can definitely slow things down.
Right. Safety and ethics are huge here, so regulation is necessary, but it can be a hurdle. Okay, looking forward then. What are the key trends the report highlights? Where is this field heading?
Precision gene editing is called out as a major trend, revolutionizing how cloning is done. CRISPR and similar tech are making genetic tweaks much more targeted, more efficient, giving scientists incredible control.
Precision is key. Makes total sense. What other trends are emerging?
The rising demand for those tailored genetic therapies and diagnostic solutions, that's a continuing powerful trend. As we understand more about the genetic roots of diseases, the demand for personalized approaches just keeps growing.
The report also mentions some specific company innovations recently.
It did, yeah. A few examples to illustrate the pace. Back in August 2020, Telesis Bio launched its BioXP 3250 system. The idea was to speed up vaccine and biologics development by making DNA segments really quickly.
Okay, faster development.
More recently, June 2024, GenScript launched something called EVLAR-S Gene Synthesis Service, aimed at making plasmids much faster.
Plasmids, those vectors you mentioned.
Exactly. And in November 2023, Twist Bioscience came out with Twist Express genes, offering, again, rapid access to ready-to-use genes and fragments. So the theme is definitely speed, efficiency, accessibility.
Those examples really drive home how fast things are moving. Now, the report also brings up something maybe less scientific, more economic: tariffs. How might the reintroduction of tariffs be impacting this market?
Right, this adds a layer of complexity. The report mentions tariffs reintroduced in April 2025, targeting things coming from China and India, pharma products, API.
APIs, the active pharmaceutical ingredients, the core stuff in drugs.
Exactly, and also medical packaging, machinery. The tariffs range from 10% up to 46%.
Ouch. That sounds like it could cause some ripples. What are the likely effects?
Well, probably increased production costs for U.S. companies relying on those imports, potential
Yeah.
supply chain delays or disruptions, and just navigating the new rules.
Who gets hit hardest?
Generic drug manufacturers could face real challenges because they often rely heavily on lower-cost APIs in places like China and India to keep their prices competitive.
Okay. What about the more complex stuff, like biologics or vaccines?
They could be affected too. Tariffs on essential materials used in making biopharmaceuticals or even on specialized packaging needed for, say, cold storage. We could drive up costs there as well.
Right. And companies that manufacture for others, the CMOs.
Contract manufacturing
Yeah.
organizations, yeah. They might have to scramble to find new suppliers from regions not affected by the tariffs, which isn't always easy or cheap.
And this isn't just a U.S. issue, right? Other countries might react.
That's a real possibility. The report mentions potential retaliatory tariffs from other governments on U.S. pharma exports. That could make the whole global trade situation even trickier.
Even clinical trials could be affected.
Potentially, yeah. Trials often involve shipping drugs, diagnostic kits internationally. Tariffs could add costs and delays there, too.
So it sounds like companies in this space need to be really nimble, paying close attention to trade policy.
Absolutely. The report really underscores the need for solid market research right now. Knowing the latest on API prices, supply reliability, the specific impact of these tariffs, it's crucial for making smart decisions about sourcing, strategy, investment. It's about minimizing disruption.
It's a good reminder how interconnected everything is, global economics hitting specialized science. Okay, let's shift back to the companies themselves. Who are the big players in this field? What's the competitive landscape look like?
Well, the report gives a value for 2023 around USD 2.51 billion, and it projects a CGR of 15.43% from 2024 to 2030, which is broadly consistent with the other figures.
Okay. And who are the companies driving this?
It lists several key players, names like biotechnology, Charles River Laboratories, Eurofin Scientific, GenScript, we mentioned them, Danaher Corporation, Syngene International, Twist Bioscience, Thermo Fisher Scientific, Merck KGaA, Curia Global.
That's quite a list, a mix of big life science conglomerates and maybe more focused players. What does it take to compete effectively here?
The report stresses continuous innovation. That seems absolutely critical to stay ahead or even just keep up.
Makes sense in such a fast-moving field.
And that demand for personalized medicine, it's driving competition too. Companies are racing to offer the most advanced, effective solutions.
Okay, let's just quickly circle back to the regions one last time, just to recap. Who's dominant now and who's growing fastest?
Right, so North America had the largest slice of the pie in 2025. That's largely down to big R&D investments, high demand for personalized medicine already, and just a really strong biotech infrastructure already in place.
Got it. And the fastest growing region going forward?
That's expected to be Asia-Pacific. Fastest AGR, driven by booming biotech investments, rising demand for things like gene therapy, and big pushes in precision medicine, especially in China, Japan, and India.
Okay, so if we were to boil down the key takeaways from this deep dive into the report.
I'd say the DNA and gene cloning services market is, well, it's clearly dynamic. It's expanding rapidly. The big drivers are technological innovation and that relentless demand for personalized medicine and advanced therapies.
Right.
North America leads in size currently, but Asia-Pacific is where the fastest growth is projected. Competition is fierce, pushing innovation, and interestingly, even global trade factors like tariffs are now playing a pretty significant role in shaping how things evolve.
This has been really illuminating, and it kind of leaves us and you, our listener, with a final thought to chew on. As these DNA and gene cloning services become more powerful, more accessible, what future breakthroughs might be just around the corner? What new possibilities open up? And maybe just as importantly, What ethical questions do we need to start thinking about now to make sure we use these powerful tools responsibly?
Definitely something to consider as this field continues its rapid advance.